Porters. Kind people are often misunderstood in this world. They are seen as soft, as weak, as people who can be easily taken advantage of. But the truth is something very different, something much deeper. Kindness is not weakness. It is a choice. A conscious, deliberate choice to remain good in a world that often rewards the opposite. And that choice requires strength that most people don't have. Porters. A kind person is not someone who has never faced pain. In fact, it's often the opposite. Kind people usually know pain very, very well. They know what it feels like to be ignored, misunderstood, or hurt. And instead of letting that pain turn them bitter, they make a decision to not pass that pain on to others. They choose to be gentle where others were harsh. They choose to be understanding where others were judgmental. And that is not easy. That is strength. But here is where the truth becomes uncomfortable. Because while kindness is powerful, it is also often taken for granted. The more kind you are, the more people expect it from you. The more you give, the more some people feel entitled to take. And slowly, without realizing it, kind people can find themselves in situations where they are constantly giving, constantly understanding, constantly forgiving, without receiving the same energy in return. This is the silent struggle of kind people. They don't always speak about it. They don't always complain. They keep showing up, keep giving, keep supporting others. But deep down, there are moments where they feel drained. Porters. Moments where they feel unappreciated. Moments where they question whether their kindness is even worth it. And yet, they continue. Because kindness is not something they do. It is part of who they are. But here's the reality that many kind people have to learn the hard way. Being kind does not mean accepting everything. It does not mean tolerating disrespect. Porters. It does not mean sacrificing your own well-being for others. And this is where many kind people struggle because they confuse kindness with self-sacrifice. They say yes when they want to say no. They stay quiet when they should speak up. They give even when they are already empty. And over time, this creates imbalance. Because relationships built on one-sided effort are not healthy, they are exhausting. The truth is kindness without boundaries becomes weakness, not because kindness is weak, but because the lack of boundaries allows others to misuse it. And this is something that every kind person must eventually understand. There is a difference between being kind and being available for everything. There is a difference between being understanding and allowing yourself to be disrespected. There is a difference between giving and losing yourself. And once you understand these differences, your entire life begins to change. Because true kindness is not about giving endlessly. It is about giving wisely. Kind people also carry a unique emotional depth. They feel things deeply. Porters, they notice small details. They care in ways that are not always visible. And this emotional awareness allows them to connect with others on a deeper level. But it also makes them more vulnerable. Because when you feel deeply, you are also affected deeply. That's why protecting your energy becomes important. Because not everyone will value your kindness. Porters, not everyone will understand your intentions. And not everyone deserves access to your energy. This is one of the hardest lessons for kind people to learn. That not everyone deserves the same version of you. Some people deserve your full presence. Some deserve distance. And some deserve nothing at all. And this is not cruelty. This is self-respect. As you begin to understand this, Porters, something shifts within you. You don't stop being kind, but you become more aware, more selective, more balanced. You start to give without losing yourself. You start to care without being consumed. And that is where true strength lies, because kindness is not about being used, it's about being strong enough to remain good, while also being wise enough to protect yourself. Porters, as you begin to understand kindness on a deeper level, you realize that it is not just about how you treat others. It is also about how you allow others to treat you. And this is where many kind people struggle, because while they are naturally giving, understanding, and patient, they often forget to apply those same qualities to themselves. Porters, they become so focused on being there for others that they slowly stop being there for themselves. One of the biggest challenges kind people face is the fear of disappointing others. They don't like saying no. They don't like creating conflict. They don't like seeing people upset, especially if they feel responsible for it. So they say yes when they don't want to. Porters, they agree when they should speak up. They stay silent when they should express themselves. And over time, this creates an internal conflict, a gap between how they truly feel and how they behave. This is where emotional exhaustion begins. Not because they are weak, but because they are constantly ignoring their own needs. Every time you suppress what you feel just to keep others comfortable. Porters, you are slowly draining yourself. And the problem is most people won't even notice. They will see your kindness, your support, your consistency, but they won't see the effort it takes for you to keep showing up like that. And this leads to another truth. Kind people are often strong in silence. They carry things quietly. They deal with their struggles internally. The Porters, they don't always express how much they are handling. And because of that, people assume they are always okay. They assume they can handle everything. And that assumption can become a burden. But the reality is kind people get tired too. They feel overwhelmed too. They need support too. And this is where boundaries become essential. Not as a way to push people away, Porters, but as a way to protect your energy. Because without boundaries, kindness becomes one-sided. It becomes something that others benefit from while you slowly lose balance. Setting boundaries does not mean you are becoming rude or selfish. It means you are becoming aware of your limits, aware of your needs, aware of what is healthy for you. And once you start setting boundaries, Porters, you may notice something interesting. Some people will respect you more and some will become uncomfortable. Why? Because people who were used to unlimited access to your kindness will now face limits. And not everyone will like that. Some may call you different. Some may say you've changed. But what they are really noticing is that you are no longer allowing yourself to be taken for granted. This is an important moment in the journey of a kind person, because it forces you to choose. Do you continue being liked by everyone while feeling drained, or do you start respecting yourself even if it means not everyone will understand you? And this is where real growth begins. Another deep truth about kind people is that they often see the good in others even when it's not clearly visible. Supporters, they give chances, they believe in potential, they hope people will change. And while this can be a beautiful quality, it can also become a trap, because not everyone is willing to grow, not everyone is ready to change. And sometimes holding on to someone's potential can keep you stuck in a reality that is not healthy for you. Learning to see people as they are, not just as who they could be, supporters, is a powerful shift. It doesn't mean losing your compassion. It means adding clarity to it. It means understanding that kindness should not come at the cost of your peace. There is also a deeper level of self-worth that kind people must develop. Because when your identity is built around being there for others, it can be easy to forget your own value. Supporters, you start measuring your worth by how much you give, how much you help, how much you support. But your worth is not defined by how much you do for others. It is defined by who you are. And once you understand that, your kindness changes. It becomes stronger. It becomes more balanced. You no longer give out of obligation. You give out of choice. You no longer feel the need to prove your goodness. You simply live it. You also begin to recognize that not everyone deserves the same level of access to your kindness. Some people appreciate it. Some people respect it. And some people take advantage of it. And learning to tell the difference is one of the most important skills you can develop, because protecting your energy is not selfish. Supporters, it is necessary. As you continue growing, you start to realize something powerful. You can be kind and still say no. You can be kind and still walk away. You can be kind and still choose yourself. And that is where kindness transforms into strength. Because true kindness is not about losing yourself for others. Supporters, it is about being strong enough to care without forgetting to care about yourself. As you move further into understanding kindness, you begin to notice patterns. Patterns in how kind people are treated and patterns in how they respond. One of the most common realities is that kind people often attract those who need something. Not always intentionally, but naturally. Supporters, because kindness feels safe, it feels comforting, it feels like a place where someone can be understood without judgment. And while this can create beautiful connections, it can also attract people who take more than they give. This is where many kind people find themselves in one-sided relationships. They are the ones who listen, who support, who show up consistently. Supporters, they are the ones who make the effort, who check in, who care deeply. But when it comes to receiving the same level of energy, something feels missing. And instead of immediately walking away, they try to understand, they try to fix, they try to give more, hoping that eventually things will balance out. But the truth is, giving more does not always fix imbalance. Sometimes it only increases it. Supporters, because when someone gets used to receiving without giving, they begin to expect it. And when expectations form around your kindness, it stops being appreciated. It becomes assumed. And that is one of the most painful experiences for a kind person. Not being used in an obvious way, but being quietly taken for granted. Another pattern is how kind people deal with conflict. They often avoid it. Supporters, not because they are afraid, but because they don't want to hurt anyone. They don't want to create tension. They don't want to make things uncomfortable. So instead of addressing issues directly, they keep things inside. They stay patient. They stay understanding. They wait for things to improve on their own. But unspoken issues do not disappear. They build up. And over time, supporters, that silence turns into frustration. That patience turns into exhaustion. That understanding turns into emotional distance. Because even the kindest person has limits. Even the most patient person can only hold so much before it starts to affect them. This is why expressing yourself becomes so important. Kindness does not mean silence. It does not mean accepting everything quietly. Supporters, it means communicating with respect, but also with honesty. Because if you don't express what you feel, people will assume everything is fine. And that assumption can lead to further imbalance. There is also a deep emotional layer to how kind people experience relationships. They don't just connect on a surface level. They connect deeply. They invest emotionally. They care sincerely. Supporters. And because of that, when something goes wrong, it affects them more. Not because they are weak, but because they were genuine. And this is where they often face a difficult lesson. Not everyone feels as deeply as you do. Not everyone gives the same way. Not everyone values connection in the same way. And once you understand this, it changes how you approach relationships. Supporters. You stop expecting everyone to meet you at your level. You start observing instead of assuming. You begin to notice actions instead of just words. You begin to value consistency instead of promises. You begin to trust patterns instead of potential. And that awareness protects you. Another important truth is that kind people often struggle to let go. Because when they care fully. They remember the good moments. They hold on to the connection. They believe in what could be. And this makes it difficult to walk away even when they know something is not right. But holding on to something that is not growing only keeps you stuck. And learning to go is not about giving up. It is about choosing yourself. Supporters, it is about understanding that your kindness should not keep you in situations that drain you. It is about recognizing that walking away does not make you a bad person. It makes you a self-aware one. As you grow, you begin to develop a different kind of strength, still caring, still understanding. But now you are also aware. You no longer ignore red flags, porters. You no longer overextend yourself for people who do not appreciate it. You no longer stay in places where your energy is not respected. And this balance changes everything. You stop chasing people who don't value you. You stop explaining yourself to those who don't understand you. You stop giving to those who only take. And in doing so, your circle becomes smaller but stronger, porters. Your connections become fewer but deeper. Your energy becomes protected and more valuable. Because kindness is not about being available to everyone. It is about being intentional with who you give yourself to. And once you reach this level of understanding, something powerful happens. You don't lose your kindness. You refine it. You don't stop caring. You start caring wisely, porters. And that is where kindness evolves from something soft into something strong, balanced, and unbreakable. As you continue to grow through these realizations, something begins to change within you, not on the surface, but at your core. Your kindness is still there. Your empathy is still there. Your ability to care deeply is still there. But now it is guided by awareness. Porters, you are no longer giving blindly. You are no longer overextending yourself just to keep others comfortable. You begin to understand that kindness without self-respect is incomplete. And this understanding transforms the way you move through life. You start to develop a stronger sense of self-respect. Not the loud kind that seeks validation, porters, but the quiet kind that sets boundaries without explanation. You no longer feel the need to prove that you are kind. You no longer feel the need to show up for everyone. Instead, you become selective. You give your time, your energy, and your presence to those who truly value it. And this selectiveness is not selfish. It is necessary. There is also a shift in how you see responsibility. Before, porters, you may have felt responsible for other people's emotions. If someone was upset, you tried to fix it. If someone was struggling, you carried part of their burden. If someone misunderstood you, you tried to explain until they understood. But now, you begin to see things differently. You realize that you are not responsible for how others feel. You are only responsible for how you act. This realization is freeing because it removes a weight you have been carrying for too long. It allows you to care without overcommitting, to support without losing yourself, to be present without being consumed. And that balance creates emotional stability, something that many kind people struggle to maintain until they reach this level of awareness. Porters, another important transformation happens in how you deal with disappointment. Kind people often expect sincerity because they are sincere. They expect effort because they give effort. They expect honesty because they are honest. But when others don't meet those expectations, it can feel deeply disappointing. And in the past, that disappointment may have led to confusion, questioning yourself, porters, overthinking situations, trying to understand what went wrong. But now, your mindset shifts. Instead of questioning your worth, you start recognizing patterns. You understand that not everyone operates at the same level of awareness or intention. And instead of trying to change them, you adjust your distance. You protect your energy. You move forward without carrying unnecessary emotional weight. Or you also begin to embrace the power of detachment, not emotional coldness, but healthy distance. The ability to care without becoming attached to outcomes. The ability to give without expecting something in return. The ability to walk away without guilt when something no longer aligns with you. And this kind of detachment is powerful, porters, because it allows you to stay balanced in situations that would have once overwhelmed you. At this stage, your kindness becomes more intentional. You are not kind to be liked. You are not kind to be accepted. You are kind because it reflects who you are, but you no longer allow it to be used against you. You no longer ignore your intuition. You no longer dismiss your own needs. Porters, there is also a deeper confidence that develops, a quiet confidence. You don't need to announce it. You don't need to prove it. It shows in the way you carry yourself, in the way you respond to situations, in the way you set boundaries without hesitation. You become calm, steady, and grounded. People may notice this change. Some will respect it. Some will appreciate it. Porters, and some may not like it, especially those who were used to the version of you that gave without limits. But that is part of growth, because when you evolve, not everyone will stay comfortable with who you are becoming, and that's okay, because your journey is not about keeping everyone comfortable. It is about becoming aligned with yourself. Porters, you also begin to understand that being kind does not mean being available all the time. It does not mean answering every call, solving every problem, or being present in every situation. You learn to prioritize your energy. You learn to rest. You learn to step back when needed. And in doing so, you preserve your strength instead of constantly draining it. Porters, another powerful shift is in your relationships. You no longer chase connection. You attract it. Because when you operate from a place of self-respect and clarity, the people who align with you naturally stay, and those who don't naturally fall away. And this creates space for healthier, more balanced relationships. Relationships where effort is mutual, where communication is clear. Porters, where respect is consistent. And that is what every kind person deserves, not to be used, not to be drained, but to be valued. As all of this comes together, you begin to realize something important. Kindness is not your weakness. Your lack of boundaries was. Kindness is not what drained you. Overgiving without awareness did. And now that you have learned, you don't stop being kind. Porters, you become wiser with it. You become someone who can care deeply without losing yourself completely. And that is where true strength exists. In the end, everything about kindness leads back to one powerful truth, a truth that most people only understand after going through pain, disappointment, and growth. Kindness is not something the world teaches you to protect. Porters. It is something the world often tests, again and again, through people who misunderstand you, through situations that drain you, through moments where you question whether being kind is even worth it. And in those moments, you stand at a choice. Do you let the world harden you, or do you evolve without losing yourself? Because that is the real journey of a kind person. Not just staying kind, Porters, but learning how to stay kind without being broken by it. At the beginning, kindness is natural but unguarded. You give freely. You trust easily. You care deeply without hesitation. And while that innocence is beautiful, it also makes you vulnerable. You experience people who take advantage, who don't appreciate, who give less than they receive. And those experiences leave marks. The Porters. They teach you lessons you never asked for, but needed to learn. And slowly you begin to change, not into someone cold, not into someone distant, but into someone aware. You start to understand that your energy is valuable, that your time is limited, that your presence is not something everyone deserves. And this understanding creates a shift, not in your kindness, but in how you use it. Porters. You begin to realize that being kind does not mean being available to everyone. It does not mean saying yes to everything. It does not mean sacrificing your peace just to maintain a connection. Because real kindness includes yourself. And if you are constantly giving others while neglecting yourself, that is not kindness. It is imbalance. Porters. There is also a deep sense of acceptance that comes with growth. You accept that not everyone will understand you. Not everyone will value what you bring. Not everyone will treat you the way you treat them. And instead of trying to change that, you simply adjust your place in their life. You step back. You create distance. You move forward without carrying resentment. And that is power. Porters. Because true strength is not in changing others. It is in choosing yourself. As you continue this journey, you become someone different. Not in your heart, but in your awareness. You still care. You still help. You still show up. But now you do it with intention. You do it with balance. You do it without losing yourself. The Porters. You also begin to notice something important. The right people will never take advantage of your kindness. The right people will never make you feel like you are too much or not enough. The right people will meet your energy, respect your boundaries, and appreciate your presence without you having to explain it. And that realization brings peace, Porters, because it reminds you that the problem was never your kindness. It was where you placed it. There is also a deeper level of confidence that develops within you. A quiet, unshakable confidence. You don't need to prove that you are a good person. You don't need to explain your intentions. You don't need validation for your actions, because you know who you are. Porters. And that self-awareness becomes your foundation. At this stage, you no longer chase acceptance. You no longer fear rejection. You no longer lose yourself trying to hold on to people. Instead, you stand firm, calm, grounded, and you allow life to align naturally, as you understand something that many people never do. Not everyone is meant to stay. Not every connection is meant to last. Supporters. Not every person deserves access to you, and that is not negativity. That is clarity, so you move differently now. You give your energy where it is respected. You invest your time where it is valued. You build connections where there is mutual effort, and you walk away from anything that disrupts your peace. And in doing so, your life becomes lighter, your mind becomes clearer. Porters. Your heart becomes stronger because you are no longer carrying what was never meant for you. In the end, the truth about kind people is not that they are weak. It is that they are strong enough to remain good in a world that often isn't. But the real strength is this: learning to remain kind without allowing the world to take advantage of it. Porters. Learning to care deeply without losing yourself completely. Learning to give without forgetting your own worth. And when you reach that point, something powerful happens. You become unbreakable. Not because nothing can hurt you, but because you know how to protect yourself and still remain who you are. That is the truth about kind people.